Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I am a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you are absolutely in love with. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. Today's episode is going to be a vulnerable one, but it's also going to be packed with growth, clarity, and leadership lessons I know so many of you need to hear. And I say that because if I'm experiencing it, you all probably are experiencing it too. One of the things that I truly strive to do on this podcast is to share things that I've personally tested in my business, things that I've personally experienced in my business. And I always want to make sure it's coming from a place that I have either done a lot of research on or common things that I see so many of the salon owners I've worked with on, so that you can truly get clarity for especially hard situations in your personal business. I have a really important announcement for all future and existing members of my exclusive podcast coaching program, The Elevate Insider. Not only will you get full access to all of my episodes and exclusive supporting content that correlates with each episode, but for a limited time, I'm offering a special bonus, my top client retention strategies. This is the same exact retention strategies I've tried and tested in my commission salon and with my team. It's the reason why I've built such a loyal client base over the last 13 years. To get this exclusive bonus material, all you have to do is subscribe by either clicking the link in the show notes or visiting www.opulentbeautypro.com/insider. So recently I experienced a major shift in my business. I lost 4 team members within a very short amount of time. And while that kind of change can feel really jarring and really hurtful, because it did, I'm actually sitting in a place of deep reflection and a place of peace, because anytime I have somebody leave my business, I understand that having a business is one of the best ways that you can truly grow your own capacity for hard things. And there are 2 different ways that you can actually run a business. You can run a business out of a place of ego. And by that is, not taking personal responsibility for the things that happen in your business. It's coming from a place of being the victim in your business, which I honestly can say personally, when I first opened my business, I was the victim. It was always these things happening to me, instead of me taking the time to work on my self-awareness and reflect on the things that I could have done better in my business to get a different result. Or you can run your business out of a place of growing your consciousness. And one of the deepest lessons and the biggest area of growth I've experienced in my business is the ability to be self-aware and the ability for personal responsibility. So what is self-awareness? I'm going to give you guys a quick definition so you understand what I'm talking about. Self-awareness is the conscious knowing and understanding of your own character, feelings, motives, and desires. It's the capacity to observe yourself objectively, to recognize how your internal world, thoughts, beliefs, and emotions influences your actions and interactions with others. Okay, so we're going to get a little woo-woo here. Every single situation that arises in our business always stems from the leadership. It's always something that we're doing, something that we're lacking, maybe from fear or emotions or being uneducated or just a lack of experience. And these areas of need for refinement are the areas that can cause issues and situations in our business. And I really want to dive into today about these team members leaving, because it stems from my deep issues with lack, right? I have a lot of money issues. And I believe that every single salon owner really struggles with lack mindset. And they really come from a place of fear because we have so many financial liabilities on the line, which can create a deep fear for loss. And I think one of the main issues that so many salon owners really struggle with is the loss of team members, especially our top team members, because the loss of these team members can be very detrimental to our bottom line and very detrimental to even the ability to stay open as a business in general. And I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I kind of want to talk about the main thing and the takeaway that I want a lot of you all to have from this podcast. And there's going to be a lot of takeaways. And I hope you guys are going to grab a piece of paper and kind of take notes and self reflect for yourself so that you truly benefit from what I'm saying today. But when it comes to running a salon, I see so many salon owners focused on the wrong thing. And maybe not all of you are struggling with this one issue, but I'm speaking to the people who are. If you are somebody who is stuck behind the chair 40 hours a week and you are grinding and you are trying to run your business from behind the chair, you are going to struggle your entire period of owning your business. Where the true business success happens is when you truly focus on growing the skill set needed to truly rebuild your business when you have team members leave. Because team members leaving, it's going to be inevitable. It is always going to happen. And it does not get better anytime any team member leaves. There is such a deep component of the feelings that arise when people leave, right? It is feelings of hurt because we truly pour our blood, sweat, and tears into these people. And if you are a great leader or if you've got great leadership intention, then you truly love the people working in your business and you have a deep connection to seeing their growth. There's also a little bit of resentment, right? Because we sacrifice so much of ourselves in order to pour into these people so that they do experience growth. We sacrifice time with our family. We sacrifice the money that we take home because training and developing people is very expensive. Marketing to build these people's books is very expensive. And that money has to come from someplace. And usually it comes from the salon owner's pocket. And when we start to see our return on investment in these people and they start to build their books and we're like, we finally have a moment to breathe because we're finally starting to see the money come in with the hard work we've put into developing and training these people, it is gone in an instant. And for me, a lot of these people leaving on our business, it's usually a cut of even having a relationship with this business because our deep connection and emotion to these people are not reciprocated, because we're simply a stepping stone for whatever they have dreamed for their own careers, right? So there's a lot of personal and emotional work that needs to be done on the back end. And by the back end, I mean it needs to be done by you because we have to change our feelings around the actions of other people. We can't change other people's actions. It's a lot of deep work to do for yourself so you can learn to change your emotional reaction, so you can control your feelings and not react out when it comes to people leaving your business. And the ability to handle the stress of the financial change that happens when you have one, two, three, or in my case, four people leave in a very short amount of time. The important part of these things happening in our business and where the magic truly happens is the opportunity for growth for you as a leader. And I don't even want to call it negative because it is not a negative thing when somebody leaves your business. It's just a matter of fact thing. And we have to work on the ability to not take things personally, right? And it's so hard not to do that, but also work on the emotions that arise when this financially straining, emotionally triggering situation happens in our business. And I wish I could say it gets easier every time, but it doesn't. It does not get easier. What does get easier is when we do work on these components, the way that we react and the ability to control the way we react when these things happen. We could drive ourselves crazy asking the why. Well, why are they leaving? And it's, the ability to understand that it isn't personal. And sometimes it is, and that's okay too. But also understand. And I'm going to get a little woo woo here. And this is what I really want to dive into today. When people are no longer aligned in your business and you, as the leader, choose to ignore the red flags, the universe will handle it for you. And the universe will remove the people who do not belong in your business to open up opportunities for the people that truly do align. As long as you stay strong in your vision, your mission, and your core values, and for the deep rooted reason on why you started your business. You need to come back to that. And that's where the true fulfillment lies in business. Every single salon owner has to deal with the ebbs and flows that happen in business. And it is not sprinkles, sunshines, and gumdrops 24/7. It is a full on roller coaster of really great and really, really hard times. And that's why I always say that salon ownership is not for the faint of heart. It truly is not for the faint of heart. It is not easy. And that is why so many salon owners give up. And to be honest, with the evolution of what is happening in our industry, it is becoming less and less desirable for people to even have salons, employee based, or even rental, because the reward is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller because of the evolution of work ethic, the evolution of the glamorization of being an independent stylist or be your own boss, which we'll talk about that too, because it is glamorized. And I think a lot of people that step away from their commission salons don't realize the difficulty of how running a business truly is draining, not just on you financially, but on your time, which is the most precious currency that you can absolutely own. The amount of stress it does cause. I think a lot of these stylists move on thinking that it's going to be better. And it's fun for like the first 6 months. And then the reality sets in. And that's when the true business running starts. And that's when the hardship comes in. And they either realize that they absolutely love it or they totally hate it and it's not for them. So, when we're talking about this evolution in business, I want to ask you, do you want to be the salon owner who runs your business from a place of ego? Or do you want to utilize your business to truly grow your consciousness and grow your capacity, not just to grow your business, but to develop a divine person that you can truly be? Because for me, that's what it's about. I do get to take home a paycheck in my business, which I'm so grateful for. And I work a limited time behind the chair. But there are plenty of times where I have gone without money. And if your main goal in business is to make as much cash as possible, I'm going to tell you that salon ownership is not the path for you, because the person who needs to sacrifice financially to build that business, to pick that business up when it falls apart, to ensure that your employees have all of the things that they need, and to truly make sure that the business is able to thrive, it needs to come from you. And if you do not have that ability to sacrifice financially, then having a salon is not for you. And sometimes you just got to do it to figure that out, right? You can't go without supplies. You need to order the things. You really need to figure out what is your end goal for the end of your career. If it's to thrive financially, yes, that can happen from opening a salon. but you truly have to know how to do everything perfectly. And you're still not going to go without the ebbs and flows of the financial things needed in order to recoup when things like people leaving happen. Okay. So back on track from my rant. So I recently had a major shift in my business. I lost 4 team members within a short period of time. It was, I want to say, maybe like a 6-month span. I had this experience happen. It was one after another after another. And I knew it was coming because I'm the type of person who can feel the energy in my business. I have a very strong intuition. And I always tell my manager, and I'm always right, this person's the next to leave. This one is on their way out. I know every single person who is about to exit my business because you can feel a shift in their energy. Their behavior begins to change and they begin to disconnect with the business and they no longer align with your vision and your mission. And it is very clear. So I had this experience happen. And let me tell you, I did work through my feelings. There was a ton of stress, a ton of sadness because obviously I just absolutely adore the girls that work for me. You know, on this podcast, I talk about how much I love my team. And when I say that, I truly mean that. I will not hold on to people in my business. And I want to talk about this possibly being one of the triggers that I know, one, do not align. Two, are not putting in the work and are just wasting resources of mine. And three, that are pretty toxic or I can see toxic behavior. So, looking at this situation, I was at the gym today and I like to really utilize my gym time. My gym time is not just to get me in shape. I have small children. I have, I think, 17 employees right now. I have a husband. The reason why the gym is so important to me is because it is my time for self reflection. It's my time for quiet. It's the time that I ease my mind and let, downloads from the universe come in. It's my time for self awareness and to really dissect situations and look at myself in the areas that I need to see in order to be better for the next version, not only for myself, but for my business. And what I realized today is that I was letting the revenue coming into my business ignore the red flags. Again, diving into like self awareness and my money scarcity, I understand that this limiting belief is part of why the situation happened in the way that it happened. And I am so grateful for this realization because I was like, damn, those damn limiting beliefs. And this is the root and the main cause of why this situation happened in the way that it happened, which essentially made me feel like it was out of my control because I let this limiting belief control my actions instead of letting my intuition and my business sense take action. Another thing is I came to the realization that I could no longer hold on to people that did not align in my business. And in the beginning of the year, I eliminated a lot of people from my business that just were not working for me. And to be honest, it wasn't working for them. They weren't growing, they weren't achieving the things that they needed, which tells me that I was not the right space for them. So I did let a lot of people go in the beginning of the year, which again, I think ruffled some feathers. When you have a great team, are really connected. And it is very confusing when you have to let go of somebody that your team is connected to. It is very hard not to take that personally. It really is. Another thing that I was beginning to really crack down was on standards. I was very lax in my business. Unfortunately, I got very bad advice from a very bad coaching company. And trying to turn that around was very difficult. And I truly believe that turning around some of these lax policies that were not benefiting my team members and not benefiting the salon was also causing a lot of resentment inside of my business. There were a lot of holes and gaps that were happening, and a lot of things were falling through the cracks. And I'm going to dive into some of those today. A lot of things were falling through the cracks. And as I started to slowly shift my business, the business started getting busier, my revenue started growing, and I started seeing really incredible results with my numbers, right? Which was important to me because business results I was getting were just not ideal for my stylist or for myself. And I think pulling back the reins, again, taking back some of that control that was needed in my business so that my team members could get results was a little bit jarring for some. So here's the truth: the misalignment wasn't just with the team. After making these changes, it was mine too. I saw the red flags. I saw and felt the gut nudges, and I chose to ignore them because I was hitting all-time record high numbers. And I just kind of thought that the bad energy and shifts would start to go away. And I sort of ignored them, and I just kind of hoped they would go away on their own. Because on the numbers side, I was seeing great results, but energetically, I felt it. Because the revenue was so strong, I just didn't want to shake things up. And I had exhausted all of the things I knew to try to turn the situation around, and they just were not working. I really wanted it to work. I told myself it would get better. Instead of holding the line of my expectations, I was starting to lower them, which isn't good for my business. And it's not good for my team either. I started adjusting the business to meet their needs instead of asking, are they meeting the business's needs? Again, this stems from me because I was not as present as I needed to be. And because these things were falling through the cracks, it was because of my lack of accountability and my lack of ability to holding these team members to my standard. So that was a really hard truth to sit with. And I'm sharing this because this is what leadership actually looks like. It's not about getting it right every single time. It's about being willing to reflect, reset, and realign, and understanding when we are resetting and realigning that it is inevitable for people to drop off, period. And that is a really hard truth to sit with. But I'm sharing it because this is what leadership is. This whole experience has reminded me of the power of self-awareness and of listening to my intuition. And instead of listening to my intuition so I could prepare my business financially for the major change that was going to be happening, I decided to ignore it. Even though I saw it in the moment, even though my intuition was screaming, choosing to ignore it is the big lesson that I have learned from this entire experience. The listening to my intuition, the trusting the discomfort that I was feeling. And when something doesn't feel quite right, it's usually because it isn't. And it never just works itself out. It's your job as the leader to take action. And sometimes that action is so hard and it is so scary. Me not having hard conversations or bringing attention to the red flags that were happening to each team member is my problem. That was my fault. And if I would have taken action and maybe had harder conversations, maybe the situation would have turned out differently and maybe it wouldn't have. But that's not my place to say because you can't change the past. You can only look at the past to change the future because we feel it before we know it. So if you are a salon owner who is ignoring your intuition, this is your sign to start taking action before everything falls apart. As leaders, especially in the beauty industry, I know relationships run so deep and it's so easy to want to hold on, to believe that we can fix or support people into their next level. But growth doesn't come from ignoring what's misaligned because Unfortunately, as a leader, you have to make the hard decision to do what's best for the business. And sometimes that means it's not what's doing, quote unquote, the best for what that stylist needs in that moment. Growth comes from facing the misalignment in your business and the ability to let go when it's no longer fixable. And when things start to break down and you have a period of loss, you need to learn from it and rise because of it. So, if you are in the season where things feel heavy or uncertain, I invite you to sit with this question. Where am I lowering the standard because I am afraid of what might happen if I don't? Oh, that question. I think that's a question that every single salon owner should ask themselves every single month. Every single month, you should start that month with that question and do the hard thing as a leader and face the things that you're afraid to face, because that's where the true growth comes from. And that's where the business growth comes from. Self-awareness is your superpower. And when you fully embrace it, every challenge becomes an opportunity. Every red flag becomes a roadmap, and every ending becomes a new beginning. Can I just tell you that when these 4 people left, trust me, this was a huge hit in my revenue. Every ending becomes a new beginning. And let me tell you, yes, this financially hurt my business. Yes, I went a couple weeks without taking a paycheck because I have a very high payroll for support staff. I just invested in meta ads for the entire salon. I just bought a bunch of extension hair for the tariffs. I mean, it was like the worst time possible. I can't even tell you the amount of stress I experienced because of this. And again, you have to make sacrifices, financial sacrifices for your business, no matter where your business is at. But I have never had such an influx in employment inquiries. And I feel like when the energy that needs to go goes, it opens up opportunities for the right people to come in. And just because somebody isn't the right person now doesn't mean they weren't the right person for when they were working for you. People outgrow your business. Again, that is inevitable. It is your job as a leader to identify when the outgrowth has happened and to eliminate that from the current situation so it doesn't create a crazy downward spiral. And I don't mean go and fire people. I mean, have a conversation with the people and say, hey, we're no longer aligned. How can I get you to your next level? What is the next step for you? Because I can tell there's no more growth for you here. And I want to make sure that you can continue to grow throughout your career, even if it's not with me. And those are the conversations you need to have. And you need to bless and release and help the person grow into their next level, even if it means moving on to someplace else. I also want to remind you that every red flag becomes a roadmap and every ending becomes a new beginning with better alignment, stronger leadership, more trust in yourself than ever before. I know with the skill set that I have created because I've focused on building my business, I will be able to rebuild. I'm already rebuilding. I'm already attracting new team members, but that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because I did the work. And you as a leader also have to do the work. So this was a longer episode. Thank you so much for listening. If this spoke to you today, share it with a fellow leader. Let's keep normalizing the real conversations behind the beauty industry and stop glamorizing them, because this shit is hard. And we grow together in the places of hardness and not in the places of celebration, unfortunately. Sometimes, but most of the time, it's in the valleys of business ownership where true growth happens and in the real conversations where true growth can be seen. Before I end today, I'm going to plug my program, because if you are a new salon owner and you are struggling and you feel like you cannot keep your head above water, the Salon Owner Blueprint is for you. It is everything I utilize in my personal business when it comes to structure, team growth, a growth plan, education, marketing, systems, anything that you need. This program is underpriced and filled with all of the things that you need for your business to help you breathe, to give you ideas, to spark inspiration on how to make your business better. If you are a salon owner who has been in it and you feel stuck, again, the Salon Owner's Blueprint may spark some new ideas to kind of shift what you're doing in your business to get different results. Until next time, be sure to follow our podcast. Every follower helps me keep this podcast going. Please, if you have not left a review, please leave a review. I love hearing everything you all have to say. And again, that keeps us thriving. It gives the podcast opportunities to keep going. And I will be talking to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and is produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Opulent Beauty Pro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing and we will see you next week.